So back to our top story now on the Pulse, and there is a new man calling the shots in Portugal's battle against the debt crisis. Opposition leader Pedro Passos Coelho is set to take over as Prime Minister. That's after voters punished the ruling Socialist Party at the ballot box. Coelho's Social Democrats set to forge a coalition with the third-place People's Party. But how will the new government go about its business? Antonio Nogueira Leite is the top economic advisor to Pedro Passos Coelho, of course. Joins me on the phone now from Lisbon. Mr. Leite, thank you so much for your time. Great to have you on the show.
Good morning.
Good morning. And before we get to the sort of internal economic dynamics in your country, wanted to ask you a more general question about anything new or anything surprising you saw in terms of what the EU IMF Troika suggested for Portugal as part of the bailout package.
One thing that was clear as a difference from what was talked about before was a long-awaited need for reshuffle the economy in terms of the structural changes that were seen as a prerequisite for all the rest within the public sector. So we had previously had agreements with the EU that were imposing on Portugal changes in terms of public spending. But now, for the first time, they are together with a comprehensive plan regarding the reform of the economy, not just the labor market or the product markets, as was said just a few minutes ago, but also changes in terms of the judiciary and in terms of other areas of the economy that have an effect on the economy and that will have to work better for the economy to jumpstart sometime next year, hopefully.
Okay, so Mr. Leite, do you plan on going beyond the reforms that have been outlined? And if so, in what areas do you want to focus on?
Well, actually, the program of the winning party has a very detailed reform program for areas such as the labor market and such as the regulated markets, saying the energy market, the telecoms market, and other markets, which are more in-depth reforms than the ones suggested by the Troika of the IMF, the BCE, the ECB, and the European Union. Okay. So we think that we really need to make our markets more flexible, more adapted to the global conditions in which we work, because our main problem is not just the debt problem, but the reasons why we have this debt, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that the Portuguese economy has been stagnant for almost a decade.
So, Mr. Leite, so from what you're saying, the reforms that were going to be implemented by the former ruling party go a step further from what's been outlined by the EU IMF. Will you go even beyond those reforms, the reforms of your predecessors? Will you go beyond that?
No, we will. We will. Because we think, and that's, like I said, that's in our program. We need to have a more flexible labor market. So, we have to create conditions for companies to grow. And one of the new things, which is being to be set more in detail over the next few weeks, is the terms in which we try to create a fiscal devaluation in Portugal, so that we make our economy more competitive. So
okay, so you want, it sounds like you want to implement some pretty serious reforms. Just, I mean, you know, looking beyond the politics, do you anticipate that there will be legal obstacles, resistance from lobbies, professional associations or unions? This isn't going to be easy for you, is it?
It's going to be very difficult. In a way, we have to do what we have been promising ourselves to do for the last 20 years, and we have to do it now over the course of the next 2 years. Of course, it's going to be very difficult, but if that's a chance we have, and that's a chance we cannot miss.
I mean, the EU sees Portugal's debt to GDP ratio at 101.7% this year, 107.4% next year. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, don't they? When do you anticipate that this could start to come down?
Well, it won't come down for a while, but it will have to come down over the coming decade. And to do that, we have to make two things. We have to lower spending, and also we have to make the economy grow, because if we only lower spending, the dynamics of the debt does not allow us to be in a condition to sustainable in the markets in the course of the next few years. So we do have to accomplish both things at once. It's going to be very difficult, but that's the only way we have.
As you say, it is going to be extremely difficult to accomplish both those things at once. And with that in mind, would you completely rule out the need for a Portuguese debt restructuring in the coming years?
Well, we're going to be running a game on a razor's edge. We know that, well, it has been agreed with the group of three that if we manage to have the economy growing at the end of next year, then we do have a chance of repaying our debts orderly as planned. So if we do not miss, I think there is a chance. We have to learn from what happened in Greece and in other situations. We have to be very forceful in the beginning. That's the only chance we have, but that's a chance we have for not being into deeper trouble over the next few years. So we still have some room for maneuver, but we have to make sure that we take good care of the chances that we were given.
Mr. Leite, just a very quick one from you, very quick final one. Some massive challenges ahead for your country. And I know that the post of finance minister has not been made public yet, but who would you put your bet on? Who do you think might take over this mammoth task?
Well, it's going to be a surprise over the next week or so. But it's entirely up to Mr. Passos Coelho. He's going to be the one calling the shot.
Antonio Nogueira Leite, economic advisor to Passos Coelho, thank you so much, of the Social Democrat Party, having recently won a majority in those elections on Sunday.